30th of September 2019 to the 4th of October same year witnessed the holding of a maiden major national dialogue that took place in Yaoundé, Cameroon's capital, with objective to seeking lasting solutions to the ongoing sociopolitical tension rocking the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. We are going to be looking at what has happened 1 year after the holding of that major national dialogue that ended with the proposals of recommendations. We know that after the holding of the major national dialogue in Cameroon, we've seen the voting of the bill sanctioning the decentralization process in Cameroon, and also a bill actually describing or directing how the bilingualism process is supposed to be implemented in Cameroon. We've seen many actions undertaken with the coming into force of the committee in charge with the reconstruction of the southwest and northwest region. We're going to be evaluating what the major national dialogue has been able to accomplish so far with our panelists who are already in the house. Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to another edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We are going to be discussing on this with Tamai Jarvis, who is in the house with us. Good evening, Jarvis. Welcome.
Good evening, Leonard. Good evening to the million spectators watching us. I want to say good evening to the sons and daughters of the Southwest region and Northwest region, and good evening to the President of the Republic.
Also with us this evening is Professor Mark Anthony. He is a lecturer and a man of God. Good evening, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Leo, and good evening to the million viewers out there, and to you, Tamai Jarvis, and to my fellow panelists. And I want to say that I believe this evening is going to be another evening of education through this channel.
We also are going to be getting live from Yaoundé, Tam Victor Bama. He is the publisher of Municipal Updates. He's a journalist. We're glad to have you for the first time on Prime. Tam.
Good evening, Mr. Leo, and welcome to Yaoundé.
How is Yaoundé doing today, this evening?
Yaoundé is doing fine. Today in Yaoundé we had the release of the names of candidates selected ahead of the December 6th regional election in Cameroon. And of course, students who succeeded in this year's GCE exams were equally celebrating as the results were released this afternoon by the board.
And we'll start by asking your first impressions after the publication of the lists for candidates to represent their regions.
Yeah, I think my impressions are positive because when you look at the list across the country, it gives you an idea of the kind of quality and material that the houses of the regional council will be made of. Because when you look at the Grand North, the Far North, North and Adamawa regions, the quality of persons and the various lists that were retained tells you that there will be business. Hot business come December 6th, and of course. We look at the northwest and southwest regions where the bulk of the talk is focusing on. We saw the list of the CPDM retained in both regions, and the quality of people also that I saw. Some are really good, and we hope that they will deliver the results.
When you say some are good, it means that some are not good, but some persons already are expressing.
Some are good. Some are good in terms of their background, both educational and societal. Others are equally good, but I'm trying to qualify those who are really best.
Who are best? Okay, we are expecting Prince Joel Mokage to join us in the course of the program. He's caught in traffic in Douala. We know how things work out here in the Cameroon's economic capital. I'll start with you, Professor Mark Anthony. 1 year after the holding of the major national dialogue, are you very comfortable with the way things are unfolding?
Asking me that question about the comfort of my person, I would say I am not the center of it, but I feel pleased considering that barely a month after the dialogue held, there was the bill to actually establish the law for the regional elections, or the regional coordinators and authorities and local authorities was actually passed, and that bill was signed into a law on the 24th of 2019, and to me that was a step forward, actually indicating that there was a better plan ahead. And apart from that, considering the fact that, you know, our dismay, the president came up and practically gave a date for the regional election, which will be taking place on the 6th of December. To me, I think that some steps are actually being taken. It is not just the work of words. Now there are practical steps that are put on the ground. The question that I would like to pose, which a rhetoric question, would be, are we certain that these particular steps that have been taken, though they seem very practical and good, would they yield the necessary results? That's a rhetoric question. And I also want to look at the situation that is presently on the ground, where in relation to the nomination or whatsoever of those whom are supposed to go in the list that has been presented, that Elekam has chosen to uphold from the CPDM, the Northwest and the Southwest, it makes me ask questions of why is it that we only keep on maintaining some particular persons in power. And when you look at the age of some of those persons, for example, when we look at the Northwest, Fonangwafo, as an individual, I thought that at a time like this, people like him should go to rest, and their children should be the ones to be doing this work, not him anymore. When you come to Tabetando in the Southwest, you get to start asking questions. Are these the people that are going to give the results? Why is it that Cameroon, which is over 60%, made of 60% youth, will only be led by old men who are not of the generation of these youth? I think that if results are going to come out of that particular, this particular steps that have been taken, Mr. Leo, one of the best ways to do that would be to encourage the youth, bring in the youth into that. Somebody might want to point out that the youth are the ones that are escaping from politics, but I think that there are a lot of youth in this particular party or particular parties whom in one way or the other could be encouraged, but most of them have been
we are going to discuss that. That is not our focus for today, Professor Mark Anthony. Now we are talking major national dialogue 1 year on. Tamai Jarvis, do you think that when we look at the convocation of that major national dialogue already, do you see it as, do you appreciate the fact that the president, at least by calling it, was to some extent recognizing that there was a problem and that there was a need to start looking at the direction of seeking solutions towards that?
Leo, this evening I wear the shoe of a negotiator, and I'll be very honest, I think the government did a step in the right direction, because when we look at crisis, the first stage of this crisis, we witnessed denial, where people said there was no Anglophone crisis, that there was no Anglophone problem, and that there was no issue of marginalization, that what we have is an issue of few disgruntled people who got up and were disgruntled. But sadly enough, shockingly for them, the head of state, during his end-of-year speech, that was December 31st, 2016, I remember, acknowledged that there is a problem within the English-speaking region, and the head of state ordered for the creation of a what we call an interministerial ad hoc committee that was ending. That was early January, and that in question we had Paul Gogomo, and alongside another committee for the lawyers that was taking place in Yaoundé. And Gogomo and his team sat with the teachers in terms of negotiation, and it fails, and we all witness where we are today. And when the crisis moved forward to its fever peak, when the arms get into place, we still saw the same people who said there was no Anglophone problem to say there is no Anglophone crisis. The head of state now saw that there is that need for he, as a father of the nation, to call for a major national dialogue. Now, as a negotiator, when there is a crisis, the first step is acknowledgement. You acknowledge that there is an issue, and that the head of state, the Cameroon government got it. They acknowledge that there's an issue. The next step, after you acknowledge that there is a problem, you start seeking for how to resolve it. That was why you see the head of state and the members of government, the head of state had to send the prime ministers. We had the various commissions, went into the highest conflict zone to gather information as, okay, there is this problem. How do you think we can resolve it? What's ongoing in your region? We had the Mosonge, we had Young Commission, and we see that of Chief Dr. Joseph Djangute. You saw that there was a commission, and when Djangute went round, immediately after he went around, the head of state announced now a grand measure national dialogue, meaning that they have gathered their facts, they have understood with the people. I'm talking based on norms of conflict resolution and how we see how things are going. Normally, no two conflicts are the same. The way a conflict is resolved in country A, it may not be the same way that conflict should be resolved in country B. But when you look at the component involved in handling conflict, you can say that that measure national dialogue calling was a step in the right direction. Now, the only challenge was in terms of follow-up committee, because I had an issue. I wrote an article that the measure national dialogue can still produce tangible result if there is a follow-up committee to see into it that the resolutions adopted at the end of the day are well followed and implemented in such a way that it will meet its objective. And at the point in time, I equally wrote an article. I said, if the non-state armed groups are operating the way they are operating now, by June, they'll be obsolete. And we have seen this. This is almost 2 years, and it's happening. Now, what I meant by follow-up committee is not just to have a dialogue. The dialogue is a forum for people to exchange ideas and to see how they can, as a people, resolve the conflict within the territorial integrity of Cameroon and within the constitution of Cameroon. We acknowledge the fact that some people will always be disgruntled. But however, Leo, I want people to understand that dialogue or negotiation is a continuous process. It's not just a day that you can take and resolve a problem, or you can take and resolve an issue. The first stage which they did was to meet in a grand national dialogue. And from the grand national dialogue, we have series of fallout. A series of fallout came in, and we are witnessing the series of fallout like that of the regional council election, which is ongoing now, which is part of the fallout. We saw that of the bilingualism bill that was easily released. We've seen that of the effective decentralization. We've seen that of effective decentralization, and we've seen how the government has been able to carry out announced the Commission of Reconstruction Commission, and we've seen that series of measures. But however, as Oliver tweets, I will say that there are still a lot of issues that the government needs to put in place. Immediately after you convey a major national dialogue, what do? You do a situational analysis, and that situational analysis tells you what you look at from the objectives we had. Did we meet the objective? Yes, the objective was one, for people to come together and share common view as to how they can resolve the conflict. The objective was met. The second issue is in terms of carrying out the process of resolving this conflict. Did we meet the objective? Yes, we actually meet the objective. But how can we ensure that it's a long term and not a short term? That is when a follow-up committee come into place.
Yeah, Tam Victor, you should be on standby from Yaoundé. I want us to go through the address of the Prime Minister, looking at the recommendations that were made at the end of the 4 days confab that took place out there in Yaoundé, Cameroon's administrative capital. It is, I'll read, it says, it is noteworthy to mention that some of the recommendations need to be specifically highlighted. This includes the recommendation to 1, grant a special status to the Northwest and the Southwest regions in conformity with Section Sub 2 of the Constitution. So much talked about special status, but seemingly very little is known about this for the people living in the Southwest and the Northwest regions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo, for that question. But before I come in, I would like to clarify that few months after the holding of the major national dialogue, the head of state created a commission, a follow-up commission, and appointed the Prime Minister, head of government, as chairman of the commission. And you and I know last month, in September, the commission held their first meeting in Yaoundé, and we had people like the eminence Christian Kazina-Toumi, who attended the meeting, and other very important members and NGOs. Now, the follow-up commission is in charge to ensure the strict implementation of these recommendations arrived at the major national dialogue.
Can you take your device a little bit? Can you raise your device?
One of the key, yes.
Sam, can you raise?
Comes, Leo.
Yes, go on.
Exactly.
Go on. Just go on.
I was saying that one of the key outcomes, at the dialogue was
my question has to do with
special status.
Yes.
To both regions.
Yeah.
Yes, and status was spelled out in the General Code on Regional and Local Authorities that was promulgated last year on December 24th, 2019. And when you look at the code in section 3, which spells out that the Northwest and the Southwest shall be granted a special status. But in that article 3, sub 4, further states that this status shall be reinforced by separate instruments. And these separate instruments, to my understanding, will have to do with the text of application. Because in that same law, when you read further in Book 4, Part 5, from Section 327, you will discover that the content of the status has been spelled out there. The content of the special status.
What is the content?
Talks about the first aspect. We have the regional assembly, and the regional assembly is made up of two houses. We have houses of chiefs and the house of chiefs. We have the setting up and managing of regional development of both regions, the Northwest and the Southwest. And then we have the managing and formulating of policies with regards to the Anglo-Saxon system of education. Now we're talking about education. It is there in section 328 of Book 4, Part 5.
Yeah, but
now, in that same particular section, Leo, we have aspects of the common law system which gives both regions that power to contribute, majority of the ideas and policy formation, which gives us the impression that the content alone.
Yeah, but the law you are talking about talks about a special instrument that is supposed to be developed that is going to give direction or substance to the special status. Who is going to?
Yes. That's true, Leo. Reason why I was talking about that, it is probable that this special instrument will come up with a text of application, because in that same law we're talking about, the coming of the regional election will mean that the various legislation to be put in place will ensure the implementation of this special status.
Yeah, but
reason why these special instruments, to my understanding, will mean the signing of text of application.
Yeah, but the text of application will apply for all the 10 regions of Cameroon. But is the issue not also? Yeah, go on, Tam.
Yes,
Hello?
but both regions have exclusive. For example, other regions have regional councils, but the difference is that with the Northwest, they have a regional assembly. The chiefs or funds from other parts of the country or other regions will be part of the regional council with no separate authority.
Yeah, but
in these two regions, the chiefs have separate authority because they'll be meeting in their own house separately from the houses of divisional representatives.
What would be the difference? Because at the end of the day, the text you are talking about, I read it. At the end of it, they say whatever is formulated, they may, which means that whatever they send to Yaoundé may be accepted or not.
And that is why we expect the separate instruments to further empower these regional authorities to ensure the strict management and independence in the management of their affairs.
Okay, Professor Mark Anthony, is the bone of contention actually in the minds of the people in the Southwest and Northwest not the issue of actually understanding what the special status is going to change in their lives? Because it is true that a House of Chiefs is going to operate for the Southwest and the Northwest region, but practically speaking, are the people not impatient to know how concrete the substance of the special status is going to look like? And we are 1 year down the road.
I think almost every Anglophone who has come across this particular bill is a little bit conscious and a little bit anxious to want to find out what is inside. We have come to the consciousness of the fact that yes, there's a special status. But now we want to know what is the content of the special status. And that eagerness is one of the reasons why we are even having a program right now talking about it. You see, when I read through and I discovered that the law actually states that there is supposed to be a special instrument which would define the content of this special status. Normally, I got to a place where I started asking, who is going to be the one to define these
a special instrument?
Who is the one who is going to develop this special instrument? Who are those people who are going to sit down and prepare it? I was like, okay, might be it is going to be the national government, the executive, or is it going to be the parliamentarians, or is it going to be the
members of the regional councils?
I was asking to that level. Is it going to be the minister itself of decentralization, or is it going to be the members of the regional council or the House of Chief? In that place, I can't go further, because if you look at it, it seems as if, to my understanding, it might be something that we are waiting to see. I'm not giving a definite answer to it. It might be like, at the end of the day, it is these regional councillors who are going to develop that special requirement, or whatsoever that will be needed, will be the ones who define this content. And if that is going to be the case, I will tell you, then that's a step to a positive direction. If it is going to be the minister, or defined from Yaoundé and then given, then that's where we'll have a problem. But I pray that this special instrument should be actually put in the hands of the councillors or the executive arm, and in relation to the House of Chief. If these people can sit together and work on that, I think that they are going to bring up something that will be beneficial to the people of the Northwest and Southwest together. If that is not the case, then I think we are not heading towards the right direction.
Okay. Now, the major national dialogue, actually, it is true that the decentralized nature of the government under which we are operating now saw the light in the 1996 Constitution, but the major national dialogue gave a push to it. And after the major national dialogue, we saw a law that was voted in Yaoundé at the level of the parliament. But are we expecting to see a full materialization of this process with the holding of the regional elections billed for the 6th of December?
Leo, like I said, if you take a step to the right direction, it's not just that. You have taken a step. It means that many more steps are expected. And when we look at this context of the major national dialogue and looking at how it's going to fully implement the effective decentralization that was brought forward in 1996, I think it's still going to be slow when we look at the process now of that step, because like Cham confirmed that the Prime Minister was delegated by the head of state to sit in for the follow-up committee. And only last month that they met, I think that was 2 months to 1 year anniversary, they met to give a representative to Cameroonians to understand where we are today from that document that you are reading now. And my problem now is
but we should also note that this committee has been to the Southwest and Northwest.
I'm coming. Now I'm looking at now the process involved in the implementation. And what are that process? The process simply involved, for example, Leonard, when we come to the regional council election, you ask a question to Cham. The question is, the House of Chiefs, how unique is it going to be? And the decision making. If you are going to sit and you take decision under a text state, they may. Decisions may. And the issue now is that the process now comes into how sure are you that if a text is being sent, is they only going to use just the may context and bring that, look, the text say we may. It's not compulsory. And at the end of the day, we are ruled by the text. The issue here, I think the government of Cameroon need to add more flesh to that, is that they need to do what is known as the third phase of a dialogue. The third phase of dialogue now involved in handpicking the key stakeholders whom you did not pick in the early phase of the dialogue, because you may have solved the problem from the beginning, but because you did not take the agitators to let them understand that this is what we have solved, this is what we have solved, I think we may be missing here. Now, I would feel like there will be a slow pace in that effective decentralization process, especially in the regional council election, because first of all, Leonard, those who are going into this regional council, they have not been schooled. They don't know exactly what is expected of them. Secondly, if you look at the investiture manner in which some of them were selected, like the case in Fako where we had a program here talking about the lawyers who says they want to sue the senior divisional officer of Fako because of the list of the chiefs. Now, if you start look at the level of investitures, I think that it will take a while, Leonard, before we can actually stabilize the system. Remember, when something is new, it's difficult for you to have a good picture of it. But sometimes, as time goes by, we'll make mistakes within it, we'll learn in the process. And I just pray that there should be honesty in this process of the regional council, because sometimes politics should not overshadow the good in which the government wants to portray. Because I'll give you an example. If you look at the way in which we've seen bills, like the Bilingualism Commission, it has now been voted, the bilingualism has been voted into bills. But when we look at the respect of this bilingualism, the process of respecting bilingualism, how is it still being respected? It's still slow. The pace is slow. And if a decree of 1996 was adopted until it took just a major national dialogue for that to be implemented, it means that there is a problem with processing in Cameroon. The problem is not adapting. Leonard, the problem is not just adopting. The problem is not the implementation, what you call the process. How is that being implemented? Because if we had effective decentralization in 1996, and it took us the major national dialogue to have this fully implemented, and it would take another process for this House of Regional Council to meet, to decide, and I see a kind of clash of influence, because this is where senators are expected to work, especially with the coming up of these regional councils. Senators are expected to work. But how much education has been given to the regional council? Not just the regional council, Leonard, the common man on the street, the man in Moyuka, the man in Ekona, the one in Widikungo, Kitunja, Bello. How much education do they have as far as regional council is concerned?
Yeah, but everything starts.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, yes, I've acknowledged this step. That's what I'm saying, that the education now needs to be channeled to our people to understand the importance of this regional council. Because if they don't understand the importance, they may feel like the government is not making strides, but which the government is making strides, but they don't see that the government is making strides. So it doesn't just take you to just give something, but when you give, you mobilize, you let them understand. For example, if you take a camera now to the street in Munya or whatever, in the north and southwest region, or even in Douala, and ask anybody, what do you understand by regional council, and how
but those vying for the positions also have the responsibility. It should have been done
before the election, so that the people are anxious, knowing that, okay, for example, you're not going to your house, come and tell us the importance of the house. We should know what the house is, then we know what we expect from you.
Okay, Sam Victor. Another recommendation had to do with take specific measures to ensure equality English and French in all aspects of national life. We saw the voting of a bill on bilingualism in Cameroon. Your assessment, has anything changed so far since the coming into force of that law on bilingualism?
Yes, Leo. Since December 24, when the law was promulgated by the head of state, we have witnessed the Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism go down to the field to educate the stakeholders to the importance of the use of both official languages. And of course, last month, the Commission was on the field. We saw people like Mr. George Mwane, who was in the Ministry of Finance. And there he sought to know what the ministry was doing to ensure the effective practice of bilingualism, meaning official bilingualism, because that's where the bone of content has been, that people in public offices do not make good use of the two official languages, which is something I think the Commission is doing so well, because last time they were also on the ground in the Northwest and the Southwest to, educate the people, create awareness on the importance of those two official languages. But the problem has been that the Commission has the advisory role, but doesn't have the power to sanction. And that is where most Cameroonians think that the Commission should be empowered and given those powers to punish people who go or defaulters who refuse to implement or to make good use of both official languages. And you and I know so well that if such powers are given to them, they will go a long way to carry out their duty without any problem. And to go back to what David said a while ago, I think the Commission to follow up this implementation met last month, and just as I think that was sometime in March this year when they were appointed, we had the COVID-19. And with the COVID-19, everybody was stranded. The world was akimbo, everybody was confused. And there was just no way that nobody could do anything reasonable. Every country across the globe was trying to grapple with the issue to contain the spread of this virus. And we could not expect us in Cameroon to be indifferent, because Cameroon also was affected by the pandemic.
Tam Victor, this commission, bilingualism commission, was created even before the major national dialogue. After the major national dialogue, a recommendation was made to ensure that there is equal value given to French and in English. You live in Yaoundé. We are in Douala. At least you have echoes from Bamenda and other parts of the country. 1 year after the holding of the major national dialogue, do you think greater value has been given to the English language in Cameroon today?
Oh, I think efforts are being put in place by the Commission and, of course, by stakeholders, though not really at its best, but we hope that in the nearest future we will have stakeholders who are conscious and who are willing to enforce this particular plan, because all of us are Cameroonians and we must endeavor to be bilingual, especially those of us in public offices. Nobody, for example, like I often emphasize, nobody owns a public office. And as a public official, it is a responsibility, a duty to communicate languages. And that is why the Commission, from my last findings, the Commission works at the ministerial level. They further instruct the regional and divisional branches or delegations who reinforce that particular train of trying to place a good plan to reinforce bilingualism in the country. So far, I think they have been trying their best. We cannot say they have been doing nothing. They have been doing something which we only commend and, of course, encourage them to do best.
Yeah, you are talking about what the Commission is doing. My question to you is to find out whether on the ground you have been to ministries. Do you think there is an impact? Because before the creation of this commission, there was a cry. There is a law that has been voted now to ensure, to try to rectify this situation that was cried out against by the people of the Southwest and the Northwest regions. I'm talking about Anglophones. Do you think anything has changed at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Something has changed, at least. We now find ministries producing communiques in both languages. We find concours being launched in both languages. And we find correspondences being transmitted in both languages. And it is a telling signal that that consciousness has been reawakened in the minds of Cameroonians in public offices. And after the holding of this dialogue, many Cameroonians came to discover that Cameroon can only have that particular unique character when its bilingual nature is being projected, and rightly. And so the public officials must be at the forefront, and that's why they've been doing it. And some who have been reluctant and been, what have been so dormant, we saw the commission warned them last month. I think the commission did so well, because I for one, I am someone who is against officials who do not want to practice bilingualism in public offices.
Now, Tam Victor, that is what you think, or that is your observation from your meeting with public officials and the public out there in Yaoundé and across the nation. But Professor Mark Anthony, there is a law that has been voted against hate speech. This is a commission that is supposed to look into issues of bilingualism and multiculturalism. We have seen a wave of hate speech, tribalism, that is in an increase in Cameroon. Do you have the feeling that this commission has a bearing on the way people think, the way people express themselves in Cameroon?
Mr. Leo, I would say this commission actually was, I think it was actually created not for ministries like Tam is actually indicating. It was created for Cameroonians. It is supposed to be able to go down to the roots, the grassroots, and be able to educate those who are down there, right down the grassroots. And if you see the idea of tribalism that we are mentioning here, it is something that has been in the blood of Africans, or let me use the word, the system that the government has been implemented in leading and ruling Cameroon. And as a result of that, the resultant consequence of such a thing is that even though laws are brought to play, these laws do not actually stop the effects of that leadership system that had been put to place. And so when the commission was brought forth and a law voted, the commission has been there for the past while, but I've not seen any change. I will be sincere to say that I've not seen any change, because rather I instead see more and more Anglophones are learning the French, but rather and the Francophones are not learning the English. That is what is happening today. And to me, it is like Victor said, to me, I think that the reason behind this setting of the commission is not being fulfilled. It is not being fulfilled because this particular commission has failed in going to the people whom it was created for. It is targeting ministries, yes, which is a nice thing, but those ministries will not cause the people out there to be able to speak in both languages. When I look at it and I ask the question, when they go to the ministries, how effective would these ministries cause Cameroonians to get to speak in a bilingual way?
Yeah, maybe they are targeting maybe they are targeting the ministries because most documents, official documents, emanate from these ministries.
Okay.
No, I'm coming. Yes.
Therefore, does it, in this way, if you are putting it that way, does it therefore mean that Cameroonians, our focus is the documents that come out, or is it the language that we are speaking?
Yeah, but this brings me to another aspect of the commission, because this is a commission that is charged with the responsibilities of ensuring that there is effective bilingualism. That is, they respect equal value of French and English, but also promoting multiculturalism, which has to do with our living together. Has this aspect of our living together been set aside?
I was just coming to Prof, and I was just coming to raise that.
Okay.
Because it's like you read my mind. There is this question I always ask: how multicultural is the Multiculturalism and Bilingualism Commission? Because when we look at the functioning, they just function on just A part than the B part, and bilingualism is just an issue, and multiculturalism come now to give a blend. And when we look at the reality, Leo, as Cham was saying, they limit their work only on to move to ministries and to focus on is there equal status in the languages here? If not, they advise. But even at that level, Leonard, before I go to the core of your question, I just want to, since Cham is there and he raised an issue, I just want to also charge that how far has the commission gone in terms of the various ministries? Because the Ministry of Defense is still purely not effectively bilingual. Yeah. Because I said, and the presidency of the republic, the day the president of the nation will one day start with English and say, my dear Cameroonians, good evening, and continue in French, then we will say that the Bilingualism Commission is working. The same issue with the level of which there are some ministries that are purely in French, and we still need work to be done. And it's not just the issue of ministries, but let's come to the grassroots sub-offices. Now, coming to your core of your question, Leonard, we've seen that more in Cameroon today, we have more of hate speeches. And this hate speech is, the commission seems like, it's like, I don't know whether they see it or they don't see it, or like they say that what we call, they say the process is short but slowly.
They say the government
grants slowly but surely. But to me, I feel like it's been long and they need to address it. There's that north and southwest divide. There is that Bamileke and Bulu divide, which is clear. There is that Grand North divide. There is that issue which we have with a certain group of Bamum and Bamileke. It's visible, and you see Betty and Bulu is visible. You start looking at this. We expect the Commission of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism. You know that the fact we had Rwanda genocide, not because of language, but not because of English, but because of ethnic divide, because of culture. Because of culture, we had the genocide, and we witnessed a similar issue in I think that was in the east, or where we had in Sangmelima. The same issue, and that was not properly addressed by the Multiculturalism Commission. And we are witnessing this in political debate, where you see a certain person who just get up, and you saw this one that parce que tu es Bamou, parce que tu es Bamileke, parce que we are Cameroonians, and we are united in a diversity and a specificity. It is good that we have plus 300 or 200 and something ethnic groups, which is supposed to be for our advantage, which is supposed to mean that, and I should look at you from West region, I say, wow, I love your culture, I should respect your ideology, I should keep your ethnicity away from your ideology. As an individual, Leonard, I am from Way Village, I have my own ideology, but my culture is different. And sometimes if you don't respect that person, when that person talks, don't look at that person from the ethnic background. Look at that person from his own ideology. As an individual, he has opinion as an individual, not as a village, not as a Bamileke, not as a womb, not as a Bakwere. In Southwest, we had that sour divide between the Bayangi people and those within the Fako. You start seeing those divides, and it's visible. The issue now is what seminars have been able to be organized by the Multiculturalism Commission to educate people of not just preaching the Viva and Psalm, but preaching them not using hate speeches, especially when it comes to dealing with others. You see someone who say, when you start using languages like this, it doesn't help Cameroon, it instead help destroy Cameroon. Because to every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction. And to me, I see that there is that need. The commission has a lot of work. If you ask me, Leonard, that in all of the different commissions we've created in Cameroon, which one has a lot of work to do? I would tell you that it's a Bilingualism and Multiculturalism Commission that has a lot of work to do. A lot of work in terms of how do they implant this culture from our secondary schools. Leonard, we have a different batch of students, like the universities. The universities are centers that produce leaders within the next 5 or 10 years. Now, when you start looking at this aspect within the university, go to the University of Boya and other universities. You see how culturally divided the lecturers are, and you ask yourself: are these centers that are supposed to preach, educate without looking at the culture, the context, the skin color of the person, but looking at the ideology of the person? Like Martin Luther King said, that he has a dream that the children will not be judged by their color, but they will be judged by the content of their character. People people in Cameroon should be judged by the content of their character, not by the content of their origin, not by the content of their color, not by the content of their tongue.
Okay.
You see the people from Kumbu. Sometimes when you speak, they say you are from they start getting this analogy.
Tam Victor, one of the recommendations had to do with reinforce the autonomy of decentralized local entities. And as agreed, after the major national dialogue, 15% of the resources, that is net resources of the state, were supposed to be transferred to these local collectivities, a thing that has not been done till now. What is not working out from what you have gathered out there in Yaoundé? Something is not right with your audio. We can't get you. Seemingly the audio is not good. I don't know what it touched. Can we get it another trial? Hello, Tam, are you there? Can you get us? Hello? Okay, your sound, we can't get the sound from your end. We are going to continue. Ella, just try to see what we can do to fix the sound situation from Yaoundé with our panelist Tam Victor. But no, there was a proposal to see an effective transfer of power to local collectivities 1 year on. Do you have the impression that the councils are better autonomous than they were before the holding of the major national dialogue? Has anything changed with the coming into force of city mayors away from government delegates?
Mr. Leo, in relation to what you just cited concerning the 15% of the national budget that is actually supposed to be transferred into the care of these local authorities, I remember
up from 3.5.
Yes. I don't think that has been accomplished so far. And as long as it has not been accomplished, that already means that the financial situation of these particular bodies, local governments, still remains the same. And it is worse because I would say before this particular bill was brought up and these definitions were made in relation to the constitution, for the past period of time, not up to even 5%, I think it was 3-point-something% that was being sent to them. And with all that, now they have come again and spoken of city councils with city mayors actually elected to office. These mayors also need this budget. And how would they be able to run the affairs of the city without this budget? What is the autonomy that has been given to them? Those are some of the questions when you start asking, you start feeling like in Cameroon, like I heard Javi saying, we take things slowly. The pace at which this decentralization idea is going is very, very slow, to a state where it doesn't yield the fruit. Because I think that if this 15% was actually put in the care of these local governments, it will permit them to be able to execute certain projects without necessarily stressing themselves up. At the end of the day, we start asking the question, is it like there is a fear that there's going to be more embezzlement or what? Is there a fear that these guys will take this money and rather develop more than they were expecting.
Yeah, but from the findings I made, I thought Sam Victor was going to clarify us. It is said that by the time this decision was arrived at, the budget for the year was made already, but many persons are asking whether in times of crisis, do you respect what has been done, or you look for a crisis solution to a crisis situation?
I think that should not be an excuse that at the time the budget has been done. Laws are made by who? Man. And why are they made? Because of the circumstances at the time. And when there is another circumstance,
and another budget was voted.
When there is that circumstance, you have to nullify that to meet up with the existing reality. And that, I think, should not be an excuse, because if you have the nation at heart, you will not give any excuse as far as it will undermine the territorial integrity and the development of the nation. If you give that excuse, therefore you are the person undermining the territorial integrity and the development of the nation. To me, they should have gone back to the drawing board and say, okay, this is what we have adopted, and this is coming now. You know, a law doesn't work in retrospect. You don't go back and start retrospecting. You look at the future, you look at the way, and continue from that. I think that there is that laissez-faire attitude where people feel like there is time to do things in Cameroon. There is no time to do things. If you have that moment to do it, do it. Because if you don't do it, the people will hold you accountable. And when the people start holding you accountable, you will not be able to enjoy social justice, social peace, and stability. Remember that there is a problem. We all focus on what is ongoing in what is ongoing now in North and Southwest region, and we fail to look at the fact that there is another conflict going on in Cameroon. And that conflict is what we call in conflict resolution as structural violence. And what is structural violence? There are three forms of violence. We have direct violence, as we are witnessing in North and Southwest region, which was as a result of structural and cultural violence. Structural violence is when certain group of persons are deprived of their right to justice, right to development, right to good water, right to good health, right to freedom, right, a lot of those rights that when people are deprived of, it is called structural violence. And cultural violence, when some group of people feel like they are more educated than others, and when they feel like they are more educated than others, they take decisions based on their timing, based on their niche, based on the time that they feel like is equitable enough. But when you look at this, all these forms now generate direct violence, because when you reach a certain level, direct violence comes in. I queue with what you are saying based on the percentage. The percentage issue should come at the level of interest at heart. To me, they should have nullified the budget and come back and look at the drawing board and say, okay, this is what we have on the table, and this is what we can solve on this table.
Yeah, but we should also understand, isn't it also because Cameroon is faced with multiple crises? We know that Cameroon is spending a lot fighting Boko Haram, the crisis in the southwest and Northwest, and today we are talking about COVID-19.
No, that should not be an issue. That shouldn't be an issue. It's still a crisis. If you don't handle it, it's still what? A crisis comes to add to other crises. There's what we call scale of preference and opportunity cost. The government should do the scale of preference.
Okay, let's try Tam. Victor, are you available? Can you come in?
Still not going.
Tam, can you get us? There is an issue with your audio. Okay, Tam Victor is not still ready to join our discussion. You have to fix. Can you just restart Can you restart your device? Just restart. We'll give you 10 minutes. We are coming back to you. Just restart your device, and Ella we'll get back to Tam. Now we have another aspect that has to do with the dynamism of the bilingualism commission. Do you think that they should have done more than what they have been able to do so far?
I don't know, Mr. Liu, before I get to that, I wanted to contribute something towards what he was saying. You know, when this crisis came up, I remember that a budget had been voted. What happened? They resat for another budget.
Yes.
That is to imply that the provision for these regional councils was supposed to also be included in that. And I don't think that refusing to send the budget could
for the organization
assisted in the
for the organization of regional elections, and not for the organization of regional elections.
Yes, I think that the budget was supposed to be sent irrespective of the situation. Okay. That notwithstanding, you ask a question concerning
the dynamism of the bilingualism commission. You think that they have done enough 1 year after the holding of the major national dialogue? It is true that they were created even before the holding of that dialogue.
Mr. Leo, earlier we mentioned it here that in relation to what we see on the ground, we can't claim that they have been able to do much. We can't refuse the little they have done so far, but their dynamism is a little bit restricted to their government structure, as we mentioned earlier, and that is where there is a problem, because you can't be struggling to handle issues from a dynamic phase and then you go limit it to the government. We mentioned it earlier that this particular commission was supposed to have gone down, visit the grassroots, be able to bring in everybody. I think that one of the best ways that they would have successfully achieved this was to bring in civil society organizations and empower them, get them to meet people around the communities, and to be able to make sure that this commission gets to produce results. We intend to see that Cameroonians, I beg your pardon, are in a place of speaking both languages effectively and being able to practically represent Cameroon wheresoever they stand as a Cameroonian. Because a Cameroonian, like somebody once said to me, that c'est le Cameroun qui est bilingue, ce n'est pas le Camerounais, implying that to his understanding, it is not Cameroonians that are bilingual, it is Cameroon that is bilingual. So he better speaks his French, and if you think that you can speak your own French and English, speak it. But as long as he's concerned, he is not moved with that. And what is this commission doing to people like this? There is practically nothing. I heard Victor actually mention something, that if there was a possibility for this commission to be empowered to be able to sanction those whom in one way or the other fail to follow through with this part, with their demands, then there will be a little change, because a lot of these civil servants and might be just lay people out there, they don't care. They don't care. What they want is to communicate, and if they communicate in French, because I'll be speaking to you, most francophones that I've been able to come across with, they don't care that your English is for you.
Yeah, but is that a problem? Is a problem? Don't we have a bigger problem of living together? We have
a problem. I think that the problem is not only living together. We don't have a problem living together, Eliuna.
It's eating together.
It's eating together.
Yeah.
Then if we keep
this rhetoric of we don't have a problem living together. We keep saying it, but we see increasingly people asking people from a particular community.
It comes because of eating together. It comes because people feel like development is more inclined to this side, and they feel like since it's more inclined to this side, you should leave. You feel like since it's more inclined to this side, you are coming to this side to enjoy the development. But once it is a balanced development, that problem of that rationale will not be into place. Leonard, let me just give you a big picture. Yes, I accept the fact that there is still that we cannot totally refuse that there is no problem of living together. In certain percentage, we will have about 30%. Now, looking at 30% and 70%, 70% problem we have is mangeons ensemble. That's the 70%. C'est never vivre ensemble. We are in Douala. I've never seen somebody from a French-speaking language tell me that tu fais quoi ici à Douala. I've never seen it. And never have I heard someone ask a brother of a francophone in Boya, tell that person, what are you doing here? But we have a problem. The problem always comes with, vous êtes ici pour prendre ça. The problem comes with, you are here to do this. It's distribution of income. You said something. I want to say this. There's something that Prof said regarding that budget before coming to this. Budget is an estimate that shows government expenditure and government revenue within the next fiscal year. And in every budget, there's what we call balanced budget, budget deficit, and budget surplus. And there's what we call a miscellaneous budget. And that miscellaneous budget is done in terms of, when we look at the fact that we had projected 2 billion of of about 2 billion CFA francs for this year in terms of disaster, and there was no disaster that could eat that 2 billion francs CFA. Where did that money go to? Some of those budgets, we should look at some of those budgets and see how we can cover out the expenditure in this area that we can meet up. Coming now to that issue of living together, yes, there is a problem where we see some people say, come no go. We had that issue sometime in Boya, which has died down thanks to the level of education that people have had now to understand that no, there's nothing as come no go. We have the issue of graffiti, which is highly played now. So as education moves down, the people see the need of not giving people names based on their traditional or their cultural inclination. But the majority problem is eating together. Policies that have been made, how does it favor development from across the board, in north, in east, in west, in south? The same problem we have with Sangmalima was the problem of development. Was the problem because some people feel like these people have come, they want to take over our land. But when these people have the same advantage in their locality, there will be no problem of living together. But there is a problem in Cameroon on Manjong Assam. That's how I see it.
Okay, that's how you see it. Is Tam Victor available? He's telling me. Tam, can we have a trial from you? Are you getting us?
Yes, I can get you now.
Okay, can we get back to the question I asked you earlier on, which has to do with actually providing greater autonomy for local collectivities. These guys were expecting, at least according to what was agreed in Yaoundé, to receive 15% of the national budget. It is true. They say the budgetary session held before the decision was taken. Was there no way to look at other means of giving greater than what the councils have received so far?
Yes, from my understanding of the decision, Leo, regional authorities and local authorities at councils will be given that particular quarter of the state budget.
Yes, 15%.
But remember that these authorities have the latitude to generate wealth, income in their respective localities.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why the state giving 15% of the state budget is just to support and to encourage them. For example, the case of the Northwest and the Southwest, where they have the power to set up and manage regional authorities, development authorities, it will give them the latitude to generate wealth and income. There is no limit. We should not, at this point in time, limit resources given to local authorities to mean that the state isn't taking care of them. I am not in any way supporting the state, but I'm saying that
if they had the means, before now, would they not have raised the amount
of their wealth?
Take the case.
Hello,
yes, take the case of a council like Benakuma. Are you saying that if the Benakuma council had the means of creating the desired wealth that they need to effectively run their activities, they will not do so?
No, I think the Benakuma Council in Menchum Division has a lot of resources. Remember, their cash crop is groundnut and other related agricultural products. Now, if the council can empower the population on the crop, for example, it will go a long way to create an avenue of wealth within the community. The council can, in a nutshell, take the small income and help power districts and empower schools. We cannot think that the Benakuma Council is unable to empower itself at the local level. Benakuma has about over 40 villages, and they share boundary with Nigeria and Manu Division. Now they have the opportunity to do transborder trade. They can transport this granite and sell in Nigeria, and the market is huge. So it's an opportunity for councils to develop other avenues to make income. Because depending on the state, I will tell you, Leo, it's not the best option. Because the state now gives you the autonomy to go about your activities, no matter the sector. You are investing in livestock, agriculture, education, and health.
You say the state gives you autonomy. I'm sure you are very versed with what happened between the same state and the council of Njombe Penja of
the new dispensation is different.
You say the dispensations are different.
It's a process. It's gradual, and they will get there in no distant time. It cannot happen automatically, but in no distant time, we understand. We will get there.
Sam Victor, are these frustrations also not coming because there are no deadlines given for the implementations of some of the recommendations arrived at the major national dialogue? We do not know when what should happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I accept with you. But we also understand that after this that dialogue, there was a follow-up commission, and it came at a very, I will not say bad time. It coincided with the outbreak of the COVID-19, and since then I have been observing the government carrying out its activities in line with the major national dialogue, and I realized that it became difficult to put deadlines because but to be on the safe side, it was good to just leave it like that because no one knew and no one knows what happens next. And to also edify the point, I will add that the major national dialogue recommendations were about 36 in number.
Yeah. And
out of those numbers, 8 of them were spotlighted and highlighted to be priority. And those 8, we had the special status. We have the program to reconstruct the 2 regions, that's the northwest and the southwest regions. We have the program of bilingualism. We have talking to diaspora activists and 3 others.
Yeah, we are going to look at all of them. But wasn't it important, irrespective of the fact that you are highlighting the situation of COVID, the coming of COVID-19? Isn't it better that in project management you give yourself timeline that in 3 months I am going to do this and that? You rather fail and justify why you failed than to give a blank check.
We cannot say it failed because this is a community project.
No, I'm not saying that it has failed. I'm not saying that it's failed. I'm saying that isn't it better to give a timeline within which projects are supposed to be realized and then we justify why they fail if we are unable to meet the deadline? Okay, we have an issue with the volume. Is that not also a problem, a big problem? Because as we speak, 1 year may be too short to have expected much to be realized, but isn't it also the fact that nobody knows when what should be done or what is going to be done, that people tend to just criticize almost everything?
I would think that that's one of the reasons. People get to criticize for several reasons, but what you just mentioned should be one of the reasons, because as long as you are in the dark, you can't see ahead of you, it becomes practically difficult to define what is ahead. So as long as people have been placed in a situation where they are in uncertainty, they can't positively speak about what they are not seeing. So though I also believe that some people are asking questions like, if in case it was a situation that needed to be solved, how can a nation get to a place where it is giving special status to a particular group of persons when these persons came to join a union as with equal status? So those kind of questions are being asked because with much of what I understand concerning Anglophone brothers who have gotten awareness of their history, they have a problem with the idea of special status, because it seems as if it is beating a child, beating a dog and struggling to throw it bones. It's like pulling out feathers from a chicken and throwing it corn at the same time. So that, to most Anglophones, that is the way they think. But at the same time, we can't practically just reject whatsoever has been put ahead of us, because we believe that that is a step towards somewhere. And I would say, even though it is slow, Mr. Leo, in getting to unveil the full package, we should have hopes that one way or the other there is light at the end of the tunnel. We can't just completely dismiss everything about it, because dismissing it will also mean that we do not actually want a solution to the problem that is facing us at the moment. So I think that accepting it and then giving the opportunity for those who are getting into work to go in and do what they are supposed to do, and while waiting to find out what will be actually defined by this special instrument, we will then be able to say, okay, just at the end of the day saying, okay, this is what we waited for this amount of years and has been brought to us. And at that moment we can speak. But at this moment, all we can do is speculation.
One of the recommendations made at the Major National Dialogue had to do with instituting a special plan to reconstruct the conflict-affected areas. We're talking about the Southwest and Northwest regions. We have seen the Commission already doing some work, your appraisal 1 year after.
Well, as far as that is concerned, there is something which I want to say, that in negotiation or in resolving conflict, you don't let your offer speak for itself. When you make an offer, explain the offer and educate people on the offer. When we are looking at this 1 year now in terms of the Reconstruction Commission, how they are to see now what they have been able to do so far within, because from 1 year it was proposed and members were handpicked, and of recent, about 4 months ago, they started mobilization to go to Northwest and the Southwest. They had meetings with people and stakeholders as far as the reconstruction can go, to get their opinion, to understand what are their immediate needs and what they think they can immediately start from. You know, the government may have its own general view, but until you go down to the field, until you talk to people affected, until you get testimonies of people, then you go back to the drawing board and say, okay, the thought I have is not the thought I thought. I thought maybe I restructure. And we are looking at this context. I think we cannot easily say that they have done this and they have not done this, because it's still the early phase. They are still at the stage what we call strategizing. When you meet with stakeholders, the next issue is you go back to the drawing board and you meet with expert now and you explain your challenges, what you have gathered from the field, to expert, for expert to advise you as to which strategy to take to implement what the people have given you as suggestions. And that is what we are expecting now from this commission, to come and tell us that, okay, maybe we are starting first with schools, or maybe we are starting first to relocate those who are in the bushes. Maybe we create a certain level of we start with some community halls where we build especially for those badly affected, so they can come back first before we start creating hospitals. Because you know that if you go and create hospital in a village and everybody's in the bush, it doesn't serve the purpose of reconstruction. If the purpose of reconstruction serves you removing these people from the bushes first and bringing them to a safe zone, then you move now to the need that the people have. There's what we call need and want. Need is what you feel you actually desire at the point in time. Want is something that you expect to have. Now the need of somebody in North and Southwest region may be different from the needs of the government. The government has a want. What's the want of the government? To see that no mercy return to North and Southwest region. To see that those homes and institutions and offices burned down as a result of the ongoing war are reconstructed. Now, in terms of the want, the need now is on the people who are badly affected. That's what they need. You get to them and find out their need. And their need could be, maybe there's something that Prince Joe said some other time, that there was this rich man that went to the north and he saw how women would trek for hours to go and carry water, and the rich man came now and dug a borehole in the community, thinking that he's resolving the problem of water crisis in that locality, that women will not have to trek from long distances in the north to go and carry water. But when he did that, the women had a protest. They protest against that. They said he had not solved their problem, because their problem, they like going out to fetch water from a long distance, because that's the only time they have to discuss among themselves, because they're always in the house. And the rich man was thinking that he's resolving the problem of water, but he's creating a social crisis where the women will not have that freedom. It's the same thing that I feel the reconstruction committee should look at that parable and say, okay, maybe we feel like it is good to construct the hospitals, government buildings, but when you keep constructing this hospital and government building, the people are still there languishing. So what we need now from the reconstruction committee is to see how they can meet the urgent need of those in the bushes first.
Sam Victor, you work very closely with this committee. They were in the northwest region where they spent almost a week, and same for the southwest region where they met with a cross-section of their population. Was that not the objective, to get firsthand what the people needed? I will still advise you. Can you restart your device? We'll get back to you in 5 minutes. Can you just restart, because we still cannot get the volume from you?
Mr. Leo, in relation to the move to the northwest and to the southwest by this commission, it was a very good move. But the problem is those whom these particular leaders of the commission went to meet is the problem. We expected them to go, like you said, they actually went for ground fact-finding, ground information. When they arrived there, they stayed at Ayaba Hotel and invited those who could come to Ayaba Hotel to meet them. And who do you expect that should come there? The people who are going to come there are the people of that same party, are the persons whom they dine and wine with together. Those are the same people who attended such meetings.
Are you saying that they dine and wine with journalists?
I'm not saying that they dine and wine with journalists.
Because journalists were received.
The fact that journalists went there for their work. Journalists, they went there as a delegation to give information of what is happening on the ground.
Yeah, they were received. Taxi men were received.
The taxi men were received.
Yes.
It is good
Bike
to
drivers, their delegation was received.
I will still tell you, the
Salams were received.
The man on the ground was not received. Those who went there are those who are dining and wining at that particular table.
Are you saying that journalists dine and wine with them?
You are struggling to give me a word. I will not accept that. And I'm not going to tell you that journalists are dining and wining. Journalists do their job. And I think that reporting an issue is part of their job. Going to take more news is part of their job, and I'm sure that if they went there because they wanted news. That is what I can conclude. But to tell you that they went there to give detailed information on what is happening on the ground, they cannot tell you everything that is happening to the person who is sitting there in that particular
Why do you think so?
I think so because it is what is. You as a journalist, what you can get as information is what they are going to give you. There's practical few moments where some of you journalists go down to the field to get information and get it from the people.
When you say the man on the ground was not received, a taxi men, not men on the ground.
I'm certain that they received the president of they go and receive the president of that particular
delegation for this, yeah.
And you know very well that some of these delegations are handpicked by some particular individuals. That's what I know. I'm not saying that.
Let me cue you.
Yes.
We are doing this exercise for people to understand it.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you saying that if you were received by Paul Tassong and his delegation, you would not give credible information to them?
I will give credible information. But
why do you think you will give credible information and not others?
Because I believe that I am one of those persons who face the situation on the ground. And there are so many persons there who did not face this particular crisis that we are talking. They are not even facing it. Went there.
So if somebody like Tamai Jarvis were
he
to
will
give
surely give something. But
so
I'm sure he was not there.
When I tell you journalists were received, because I covered Boya, I said journalists were received. You say no, they don't have information. I don't understand.
I think the issue, Prof, is maybe I want to articulate is that though the journalist may have given the information, but he believes that the more people that should have been are those from the Econa, those from My 16, those
maybe
from
Prof would have wished that they moved to Kamer.
This is what I wanted to say. Just the fact that
you did not give me the opportunity. They moved to this area.
Can I say, this is what I wanted, that these people should not go and sit in a hotel. They should go down to the people down. Okay, like they went to Bamenda, they need to go down to Babanki. They need to go to Bafut.
Babisi.
They need to go down to Babisi. They need to go down to all those places to be able to talk to the people directly.
Yeah.
When you tell me that there was a delegation that was sent, that delegation will end up not being able to pass the information the way it's supposed to be done.
Okay,
so
was it an issue of strategy? Because maybe they got somebody from Babanki but received the person in
different capacity.
No, but received the person in Ayaba. Maybe it would have made more sense if they moved down to Babanki and had that discussion.
If they went to Babanki to have that discussion, what will happen is this: all the villagers will come out to talk, and when they come out to talk, they will give out what the people need.
I think there is one.
But they had 1 week.
The issue is as an issue of strategy, as you said, because it's not just the meeting, but sometimes they say a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yes.
Because when you are on the field, even without anybody telling you anything, you get a different inspiration. You get a different way of looking at things. You get a different approach to the situation. It's not just to get the speeches from people. Because let me be honest with you, that those people who were there were people who actually gave the reality on the ground. Where people actually said, the people want this, the people want this. Not everybody can move from Ekona, Ekumbe, Big Bekondo to come to Boya. And they have selected people whom they think can talk on their behalf. But if the committee would have said, okay, maybe we go in Boya, we can look at one hot zone. We have 1 week, yes. We come to Southwest, we look at one hot zone and just do a show without even sitting, without even talking.
The meeting should take place in Ekondo Titi.
Yeah, Ekondo Titi. In Ekondo Titi, where you bypass some of these areas that have been badly affected. Or let's say Kumba. Let's even put Kumba, because before you get to Kumba, you pass Ekona, you pass Moyuka, you pass My 40, you pass Bombe, Bakundu, Banga, Bakundu. You look at the situation.
Just look at what happened.
When you to
show you that at the end of the day, whatsoever was told to the commission, the chairman of the commission, when he went to Equinox, what was the error that came out of his mouth? He said, what he said contradicts everything we see out there. Yeah. That's to imply that what he went there doing was actually playing just a game. He didn't actually go to solve the problem.
Okay, Sam Victor, are you available? Do you get us? Is Sam Victor online?
So, to me, I think it was, if I go by what Prof is saying, if they had picked, it's still not late. And what we expect now of them is that since they met, we've not had an opportunity to understand what's going on. Maybe they may have a good strategy, but sometimes keeping the public informed as to your activities, to tell the public that we are at this stage, 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 it gives them
they're
hope.
Coming back to the timeline I talked about earlier.
It gives them hope. There is something, I always go back to it, that when you are on the dialogue process, when you are in the negotiation process, their offer should not speak for itself. Explain your offer. Because you may be solving the problem that the people are agitating, but the fact that you don't explain to them, they may feel like you don't. But the time that you take time and explain to them and keep the update that, okay, we met in Boya, we met in Southwest, and we met in Northwest, we had resolutions, we had recommendations, and we are saying that we have you people in mind, and we are now meeting to see how we can restructure this. It gives the common man hope that, okay, those meetings were not just what, like Prof said, to come and dine and eat. It was a meeting meant for development of North and Southwest region. Nobody in North and Southwest region will tell you that they don't want reconstruction. Everybody wants reconstruction. Yes. Everybody wants effective decentralization or whatever. Everybody wants that mood of the system should be in such a way that it should be equal. It should not be an upper class, a lower class. It should be a system of mutually inclusive. Now, but the issue now is, when you come and sit and have this discussion and you go back and you stay mute, you could be doing a very hard job. You could be doing a good job on behind the scene. But the fact that the people don't know, like when Moses went to collect the 10th commandment, and the fact that he was not in communication with the people he left behind, when he came, what happened? Things have changed. The people said we stood and we waited and we didn't get information. That's just to tell you that the fact that when information is delayed, people start assuming and people start looking at problems where there is no problem. People start questioning your attitude. People start questioning your looks. People start saying, no doubt if the looks some way, so I've done the suspect the man ever since. I've done the suspect. If somebody takes your 10,000 or your 30,000 and go without an explanation, even though that person may be coming tomorrow and the person ended up not coming, you feel like a person has scammed you because the person did not give you an explanation. Sometimes when you are on a problem like this, a situation like this, the spokesperson are very important. Press conferences are very important. Tweeting are very important, because when you do that, you keep the public updated. What kills and what damages is lack of information. Information is power. So I believe my plea to Paul Tasson and his team and all the commissions that government has created is that keep the people informed of their day-to-day activities.
Yeah, but even when they communicate, at times we still not trust, because the only thing that Prof can remember is the negative of what he said in maybe in a 30-minute interview. Is Tam Victor? Are you on, Tam? Okay. The lines are not too good. Tam Victor, can we? Because I really want you to clear the air here. You work very closely with this commission. Maybe some informations that are given out there may not be very correct. Seemingly things are not working out with Tam. Now, looking at the reconstruction committee that has been put in place, they went down to can we also say that they have a better picture of what is expected of them? Because seemingly it is a three-phase process. There are areas that have been given priority.
Mr. Leo, I think that with my understanding of what they went out doing was actually to get the facts. And it is from the facts that they will actually be able to determine what to do at the moment. And if already they have defined what they have to do and they have already aired it out, it means that they had pre-facts before actually going in for the facts finding that they went. And if that be the case, then I will surely say might be some of the solutions they are trying to offer are not necessarily the best solutions that they're supposed to offer. Why am I saying so? I'm speaking because even though all of us we are for the reconstruction of the Northwest and the Southwest, we know very well that it will be practically difficult for schools that are in areas where the Amber Boys are actually still in, should I use the word, they still have a lot of influence. It will be difficult to construct such schools and maintain them because guns will still destroy them. And if that was their solution, to build a school rather than solving the problem that is on the ground, then it's a wrong solution. The solution might be good, but it is at the wrong time. So they need to go step by step. It's like one day we discussed this here, we said one of the primary things even that they need to focus on is supposed to be a mental reconstruction, where they are supposed to construct the minds of persons to be able to understand what they are in and what they have been, how to step out of it without remaining in the trauma of it. And as long as these minds have not been reconstructed, if you go construction on the ground, those things that are constructed on the ground will still be destroyed. So I think that we should not put the chariot before the horse.
What are you saying? That reconstruction should not take place?
Reconstruction should take place, but it should go from step to step. And this step to step, they should begin with reconstruction of the minds of the people first. So it's supposed to be it begins psychologically before it goes physically. And that is where this commission, I don't think whether that is their
if you were to recommend that, okay, we do psychological reconstruction, how long should it take?
I think psychological reconstruction should not be a parameter for the government. The churches, the civil society organization, those are their roles. Those are the things they should do. Yes, the government should come in and support them. No, let me give my own view. The government should come in and support them. Collective and nation building. Good. Collective nation building doesn't necessarily mean that the government, an elected government or a regime should take that sole responsibility. the churches has that role to play. The civil society organizations have that role to play. The NGOs have that role to play of mental. The government comes now with the physical to ensure that the meet up with the government cannot be doing both at the same time. If you say the government should move more of mental at the same time, the people are dying in the bushes. Now, what the government should do is that the churches should organize themselves and take it as a sole responsibility and say, oh, government, we want to help you. We are helping you, and in NGO, we are helping you with mental reconstruction of the mind. Maybe how does this begin? By educating the people on their services that violence is not good. By getting to the field and educating the people on the mode of respecting each other and the mode of respecting state authority and the mode of, handling situations. Now the government, what I feel the government should come in, the government should come in constructing the homes of people first before moving over to constructing offices. We need these offices. But when the people are not there, the offices will not function. When the offices are there, the people are not there, it doesn't still make sense. To me, what I feel, I've covered the crisis and I've been to all these affected areas in Southwest region and I've seen the situation in Nake, Bolek, Kwaka, Bike, Kumbe, Kake is different. And in this, what the people need now is that their homes should be reconstructed, that they should leave those bushes and come back to their homes, even if it's not as the case it used to be. But a small home should be reconstructed for them. That should be the priority, not the priority of getting to construct courts, of getting to construct hospitals, of getting to construct schools. We need people before schools, before you construct schools. The people can learn in a community area. You can create a makeshift school in that area while the people come and they study, why they move on. So I think the priority, if I'm in a position of advising them now, I feel like the priority as someone who have talked to these people, the priority is that they need their homes to be reconstructed. And when the government start, let's say, move to other areas and start reconstructing homes, you see the bandwagon effect of jubilation. You see how people will be coming on board. When the people come on board, they can work money and they can pay taxes, they can construct hospitals. We have hospitals like your association donated equipment to Way Village in the health facility to help Way Village, and that the Way is not just going to use it alone, it's going to encompass Isu, womb, and all the rights. And those are efforts that we need to see that these things are being done. So when you start moving from that perspective, I think if you start constructing this home, the people will come together and work the money and provide services for their villages. What the people now need is shelter. Like we said, the churches should emancipate the people from mental slavery. The church should not just, the NGOs should not allow this for the government. The government should just support them with providing some few services. That what do you need? We need security. What do you need? We need this. We need that. Provide us their need. It's not an issue of the government to solely handle mental.
And I'm sure that's still part of the government getting to do that.
Not fully.
I think that, like you said, it is necessary. We are not refusing. The church is already doing that particular aspect. Some civil societies are already doing that. But if this is going to be effective, it is necessary that the government should stand behind.
Okay, Tam Victor is back. Tam, since you are back, we were talking about the Reconstruction Commission. You were with them in Bamenda and in Boya. Some questions raised here by Tamai Jarvis and Professor Mark Anthony questioning the seriousness of this commission and their capacity to deliver, even judging the fact that they ended in Boya and Bamenda not moving further from the regional capitals. Also questioning the quality of the persons who came for these meetings in Boya and Bamenda. Do you think that the required information from the regions were gathered by the members who went down?
Yes, the national coordinator and his team went to Boya and Bamenda last 2 months to talk with the people, to get what the people think about the program to reconstruct these two regions. And from their findings, it would appear the people actually want the program to reconstruct their regions. And Leo won't pretend to say that some people are against the program for some particular gains or reasons. But I will tell you the truth. The program is owned by the community. It is their program. It is not the national coordinator's program or your program or my program. It is their program. It is our program. Which means that to appropriate it, they had to go down to the field to educate them so that they tell the commission what they want them to do in terms of reconstruction. And that is why after they came back from the field, the first action was that the national coordination came up with a procedure manual. And this procedure manual spells out how the program will be reconstructed. For example, there are 3 parts. The first part is on social cohesion. Second part is on basic social infrastructure. And the third part is on revamping the local economy. Now, the first 2 years will be basically focused on recovery. And the recovery phase, Leo, I will tell you, is simple. It is all about the deconstruction of the mindset. Mindset deconstruction.
What you saying?
Working on the people's mindset that have been damaged as a result of the crisis, the gunshots that were smoking in those 2 parts of the country. Now, the next aspect under recovery will be what we call the reproduction of some lost documents, which is a part of the social cohesion. For example, some people lost their ID cards, their diplomas, and of course their birth certificates. Now, the national coordination now will assist them in the re-establishment of these lost documents. And to tell you the truth, Leo, the national coordination is simply to coordinate the program. But the implementing partner is the UNDP, the UN. They have been on the ground several times, and the procedure manual that was adopted last month in Yaoundé by the steering committee was produced by the UNDP in Cameroon and the national coordination. So it tells you that the people have understood the program, and the national coalition has come up with measures to cause the people to understand the program and how it should be implemented. And the people said, no. Can we start with mindset deconstruction? Okay. And the government said, yes, working to that collaboration, partnership. That community partnership is very important. It's very important.
Okay, the community partnership is very important. Tamai Jarvis was worried about the communication aspect. Have you, as the commission, educated the people on the steps that have been adopted to implement the whole process, the whole reconstruction process? Because you are giving a 3-phase process. You say 2 years is going to do with the deconstruction of what has been built in the minds of the people.
Yes.
The people of the Southwest and Northwest, are they aware of this?
For 10 years. Leo, the first step of the program is a 10-year program.
Okay.
Now, the first 2 years now will focus on recovery before reconstruction, because you cannot reconstruct when the people's mindset has been deconstructed.
Okay.
From the trauma they had gone through, guns and all whatnot, the psychological disturbances. Now, it is simple. The national coordination has come up with a manual of procedures, and these procedures spell out how the program will unfold. And that is why we have the various steps respected. For example, who is eligible to benefit? How does an individual become entitled of, let's say, a home, or let's say a lost document? All these procedures have been spelled out in that document. And that is why the national coordination is determined to ensure that each and every Anglophone citizen from these 2 regions come to know what it means by reconstruction, who is entitled to a particular activity or not, and why. And I will emphasize on this aspect: recovery before reconstruction. That is what the national coordination and the steering committee hammered on, and the manual procedure says it all. And in terms of communication, I learned that there is already a plan, and we are only expecting to hear from the powers that be. And all of us, like you and I, we are expecting too. And I think that we should be optimistic about the plan, because it is our plan. Okay. It is not government's plan. My video was affected, I was affected, you were affected, one way or the other. So it's our plan. It is not Mr. Bia's plan. It is not the PN's plan. It is not Mr. Paul's plan. It is our plan, the community. We are the ones to benefit. So we must appropriate the plan, we must embrace the plan, and come up with constructive ideas to sustain and to empower its implementation. We cannot spend time each day condemning the plan. The plan is quite rich. I've gone through it from page 1 to the last, and I will confirm that out of the 25 points, there is none that's mean. All of them are important, indispensable towards the growth of these communities in the northwest and the southwest regions. We cannot at this point in time think that the plan is tackling a particular group of people or a particular village. No, the plan is tackling everybody resident or based in this part of the country, the northwest and the southwest. You believe with me that in Boya, people raise questions like, the guns are still smoking, how do we come out? No. From what I learned, the people are actually anxious. They are excited to see this plan come to fruition. But the question of guns are still smoking that came up was a clear sign that they are willing to stop the war. But how many of them are willing? How many of us have taken that part of place to educate our children that guns will not solve any problem? There is no problem that has no solution. And there's a problem, and we have had a solution, even if it is not 100%, but every problem that has a solution starts from somewhere. And what if this is where we are starting from to solve this particular problem? We cannot continue living mystery.
Sam Victor, I'll come back to you. But one of the recommendations 1 year after has to do with create a team responsible for mediation with radicalized members of our diaspora. Do you think, Professor Mark Anthony, that aspect has been grossly neglected, or there are behind the scenes negotiations ongoing?
I want to believe that there is a behind the scene negotiation, because as a result of what I'm seeing now that is happening, of recent I saw Eric Tato, his fight for education makes me believe that there's a shift in his position. Though I remember, I think it's last year or year before last, where he threatens people who to go to school. What he's saying now makes me believe that there is a shift. And so I want to believe that there is a kind of negotiation that is taking place from behind.
The attempt of the meeting that actually took place between Ayuk and Twice, yeah.
And that's just what we know. There might be other meetings that we don't know with those who are in the diaspora. And so I think that there might be, in that particular aspect, the government is doing its job in getting to negotiate from behind with these guys in the diaspora. And I think that if they are open enough, it will mean a lot to Cameroonians. The only problem is most of these things are done behind the scene, and some of these boys, when they come out, they intend just to get what they want from the government, not for the benefit of the people. And that's where there is an issue. Because when you are negotiating with the government and you have a positive decision to take towards leaning towards the government's position, I think you should make even those who are fighting on the ground to get to know, so that people will not be wasting their lives while you are enjoying yourself. It's just like when Ayuk Tabe received the delegation, he tweeted. That was an information to make the people know something is already happening. But the others are not doing anything. They are hiding behind and keep on letting people's children to be dying. And that is where I think that the diaspora are having, let me use the word, they have a bad intention towards this particular issue. Okay, because if they really want to solve the problem, they should also inform the people that we are taking steps.
The major national dialogue was a decision by the government to seek solutions to the ongoing crisis. It is true, many persons who say it was not sufficient. It did not solve the problems because the guns keep smoking. People have been dying 1 year after. And we've seen the Senate, U.S. Senate, which is recommending another dialogue. But the government will say we took a step. We expect to see a step also from the other side of the coin, and as a negotiator, do you think that the government would chest pound to say we have taken a step. We also want to see a step from the other side so that from there we can move forward.
Yeah, on the scoreboard is 1-0. The government has scored a goal because we expected a shift in paradigm. For example, now the government has started by saying some members of the government started by saying there is no Anglophone problem, and the head of state came and said there is a problem. And some said, we will not negotiate, that no Kmer, not nation can negotiate with the terrorists.
They cannot hold a meeting because...
Yes, and at the end of the day, we saw invitations being sent to those agitators, to those from diaspora. And we saw somebody like Padi Asanga and a good number of them too came and attended. We've seen where the government said, no, we will not, some members said we will not, and government have been holding meeting. Now we saw the government now releasing some prisoners, and in an attempt to this, we saw the creation of the Reconstruction Commission. We've seen the announcement of the special status, though its content is still much to be explained to the people. We've seen how our government has taken strategy to see the stabilization within this region. And now from the non-state armed group side, the main core and the board of contention has been 1, ghost town, 2, no school. Those are the 3. And another aspect is make the place ungovernable. Now, when we have continued for 4 years, what do? You give out 1. You say, okay, this is to show good faith. Maybe I give out school resumption. That continue with your school. I move on with my other strategy to show that I have good faith. When you give out school and lay down conditions, if I don't know who's advising them, but if I'm to advise, I will tell them that maybe you go in for effective school resumption and you give a condition that the only condition can be the day that if parents can send their children to school, the day that is a certain day that you feel like they should not go like the normal traditional Monday. They should stay the normal traditional Monday, just the Monday, and nothing will affect the school resumption. You start by that. It's a step. Gradually you start, but we have not seen that happening. We have not seen. Eric Tato, Mark Barata, and some few came out and they were tagged black leg now. They have been baptized to be black leg, and they have been baptized, have collected huge sums of money to want to destabilize a revolution. We saw somebody at Yabacho said policies are things that we don't just get up in the day and change it. Change it how? Who and how is it benefiting? The children have been out for 4 years without school. The people from the 7 regions they had their children for 4 years in school. Let me come to the university perspective. Somebody get to year 1, year 2, year 3. The person graduated as a first degree. Our kids have not gone to year 1, year 2, year 3. In the next 8 years, who will rule Cameroon? Those who have been in school for 4 years and have their master's degree, us who have been out of school for 4 years and don't have their certificate, who rules Cameroon? They talked of assimilation. We have moved from North and Southwest to Douala. Are we? They are assimilating us further. So I think that they need to shift from that line and give out some basics and say, okay, we will stop shut down and we will now say ghost town. We will do this, we will do that. So that the government too should be held accountable for that. The no-state angles are doing a shift, but you are not doing a shift. At the end of the day, Leona, the no-state angles are not doing themselves favors. They are not doing themselves favors because they are not shifting their grounds. Remember that you cannot stand on a single position for long. Because the moment you stand on that single position, your friends and allies will abandon you. Because there are people who never bargained for 4 years. They wanted the conflict, but they never bargained for 4 years. And because the conflict has gone for 4 years, they have chickened out. There are people who never bargain for cutting of arms, amputating, and kidnappings. Because you have indulged in that, they like a revolution. But because you have indulged in that, they have chickened out. You see that your base, you start reducing your base. Look at those who went out for September 22, 2017. Look at those who went out for 1st October 2017 and 2018. Now look at the population as compared to them. You see that it has shifted. The same people who went out on September 22 have been kidnapped, have been called black leg. Why? Because they wanted a different approach, but you have come with a different approach. You see that the population is shifting, moving out to the government position. Now you as a non-state angle, what do? You go back to the drawing board and see what the people don't want. The people don't want that you should hold them not going to school. You say, okay, school resumption. You re-strategize. These are measures in which I think it should be implemented. In that regard, the government, you make the international community see that the government is a person not willing to negotiate. We've had schools going on in Syria, Lebanon. We've had schools going on in war striking no-development zone. To me, the non-state armed groups, they need to harmonize themselves, and we understand that there's no revolution that does not have division. Yes, it should have division, but that division should not just end at the level of policies. Policies should be implemented to save the common man. There were people who went on September 22, 2017. These same people, you are calling them today black leg, and you have asked their children not to go to school. There are people who, by virtue, they just wanted to see they wanted that the crisis should last for just 1 year. There are people who just wanted to pass that information, but they have passed that information. The crisis has long overdue what they thought. So you will never normally have those people who chicken out. In order not to have people chicken out, you change strategy to benefit the common man. I asked a simple question, Leonard. This is wickedness. If not wickedness, I don't know how we can equate this. This is it. You say we have been assimilated. We understand. Now, the same assimilation, you encourage us to send our kids to the other regions, and you encourage us, the businesses that we used to do, like CDC. Why don't you say CDC should operate? You go and meet them and they give you banana. You say, okay, they should supply you food. They supply you at your tariff. If CDC operate, what does it benefit the economy? Okay. So when you start looking at these dynamics, I think there are a lot of things that are not being done.
There are many messages, but I want to read this one from Mr. Wose. I don't know how we are going to analyze it. He says, Mr. Liu, I am a bit confused with what we want. Before the dialogue, we said nothing good will come out of it. Already, like what you are saying. Already, he says, after the dialogue, with resolutions, we said they are cosmetic and fake. The special status is empty. Before the team for reconstruction came to get information on the ground, we implemented a lockdown to frustrate their mission. After the team left the two regions, we said they selected those they wanted to see, whereas the ground was not safe for the people to attend for fear of being termed a black leg. 1 year after, we are questioning what has been done with the resolution of the dialogue, which we condemned from the word go, etc. Do we now have some belief in the major national dialogue? I'm just confused with what we really want.
Mr. Leo, he has the right to ask that question because with what we have,
because I'm sure during that period there was a declared ghost town.
Yes, there was a ghost town, which was actually to stop people from actually participating in it. Not only that,
and going there was also risky.
It was very risky. And those who even attended, they were declared persona non grata.
Yeah. Mr. Leo, in respect
does it not also tie with what you are saying, that people should shift ground now?
People should shift their ground.
Mr. Leo, that is the issue from the very onset. It is true that this particular crisis started with grievances of individuals. Talking here, I was actually grieved, and I expected change. But from the moment the thing went to a particular dimension, I discovered that we were going the wrong way. I shifted my position and I stood back where I was supposed to stand. You see, as long as there is no definite purpose, as long as there's no defined path to take, anything that is coming up is a problem. Because when you look at what is happening, there is nothing that had been accepted from the direction of these separatists. There is nothing. Everything that the government proposes is wrong. I am not also saying that the government is using the right path to answer to solve the problem. The government is using its own measures to solve the problem, but those measures are not solving the problem from its roots. But at least the government has taken a step in struggling to solve the problem. I think that it is high time for these separatists to have risen up to the occasion and said, okay, we will meet somewhere. By giving in some of, they should come to a consensus. They should give up some of those hard positions that they are taken. And I am sure that if they do that, we will end up having something. The person that we're saying is confused. He has a right to be confused because there is no path that the people are taking. They don't have a particular direction. People just want a magical solution to the problem that will just bring, wow, everything is fine. But you know that kind of solution does not exist. So there must be a step-by-step approach to solving the problem. And it should be from both sides. Jarvis actually mentioned something. There was a time when they said, oh, if you mention federalism, there's a problem.
Yes.
It became a normal talk. Now we are talking it. We are using it.
Even secession is a word, even secession
it was a problem. Okay, there was a time when the government said we cannot negotiate with separatists. What happened? They sent letters to call them to come to the table. That was to prove that the government realized that these are our children in the house. We need to talk to them. But what are our brothers doing? They have built a wall and they are standing behind, even though they are not seeing where they are going. They just believe that we are going to arrive in a destination that they have defined in their head. Because I'll be sincere to tell you, Mr. Leo, they are hiding behind a very high wall, which they can't see ahead. There is practically no solution. There is no pathway that they have defined for anybody to walk through. And if you follow people who don't know where they are going to, it means you are heading nowhere.
Okay. Tam Victor, the SDF recently is calling, acknowledging some of the things that the government has done, but wants the government to go an extra mile to open up and once again call people to the table to discuss these issues. Okay, seemingly Tam is not, the SDF thinks that irrespective of the fact that the government has done this, but they should also go a step ahead to once again call people to the table to say, yeah, let's find a definite end to this, because without a definite end, some of the recommendations made may be very hard to be implemented.
I started the program. I said we're the shoe of a negotiator. In conflict, the worst form of dialogue is better than non-dialogue. It's better than non-dialogue, because in the worst form of dialogue, there are openings. There are some shift of grounds. There are some things that are handled which, if not dialogue, non-dialogue are not taking place, they will not have been handled. And believe me or not, we have some few achievements that we can boast of that has helped to mitigate the conflict than aggravate. We have some good, but however, dialogue is a continuous process. It's not just a day thing. It takes a series of days of meetings, of planning, of disconnection, connection, reconnection, insult, and at the end of the day, you keep seeing yourself back on the same table with the same person. You said, no, I'm leaving, no, I'm leaving, no, I'm leaving. So I believe what the SDF is saying, they're correct. We cannot just say that the government has done everything. Yes, the government has taken a step. Remember that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. So we appreciate the fact that they took a step, and there is that need to take more steps ahead in resolving this conflict. By what do they need to do? Bringing the right people on the table. The problem we fancy as the problem I saw during the major national dialogue was because of the process, meaning that people cannot give recommendations, and those recommendations are not made public as to which one has been adopted and which one has not been adopted. Till now, people don't understand whether the number of proportion of recommendation all were adopted or not. It was recommendation. And secondly, if you are going on a dialogue table, there's what negotiation, there's what we call, those who are on that table should be people who can make policies, meaning that we should not agree that, okay, we'll do this. Then later on you say, no, let me go and call my boss and find out. And when you call your boss says, no, it cannot be possible. You come back and say, no, it cannot be possible. Then you frustrate the whole show. But when you have the right people who say, okay, let's do this, they say, okay, adopted, and we are implementing. It gives that credence, it gives that credibility. They understand that the process is what is important. SDF should not just look at the fact that there should be a dialogue, but they should look at those coming on that table. Can they produce tangible results from the government bench? It should not be something that
they are saying, the SDF is proposing that those who have been arrested in connection with the ongoing socio-political tension should be released, at least to calm down the tension. But the SDF is saying that even the separatist leaders, they should call them.
That's what I'm saying. That the government should call people who can make policies. You should not call people who say that, okay, we will go and talk to them and see how they can drop their arms. No. You should talk to people who make direct call that, okay, we have accepted this, please guys, can you drop your arms? These are the people. In negotiation, if you miss the people who can speak and take policies, and you bring people to representative of people, there's the difficulties in solving conflict that the people who come on the table are representing their bosses.
Yeah, but it should be both ways.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying, that it should be both ways. The government should bring people who can make those decisions. The non-state armed group should come in those decisions. Recently, Sudan, the problem in Sudan, they met with rebel leaders in South Sudan. They went to South Sudan, they met with rebel leaders and signed deal with 16 rebel leaders, rebel groups to drop their arms. And they could hold that meeting in Khartoum. But they did not have that meeting in Khartoum. They went to South Sudan to have that discussion. So sometimes you can make those gestures, not because you are underdog, but simply because you want the negotiation.
We are out of time. I want us to clarify something here. I think Esther, writing from Kumba, says, Mr. Leo, good evening. Your program is very educative. Please tell the person on your right to give you some respect by putting Mr. Leo, not Leonard, because you are doing something good to educate the public. Please. No, I'm okay with that. There's no need adding.
In journalism, we'll go by that anyway.
Esther, good evening to you. I'm sorry I did not reach your message yesterday. You were not too happy. This was it. Can you people tell me some of the solutions the government has taken at solving the root causes? Chere is writing from Boya. I'm sure Chere is confused when we say the government has made some. Can we help to educate them? Once again, good evening, Mr. Liu and everyone in the studio. Someone is talking about who will rule in the years ahead. I want to ask him this question: who has been ruling Cameroon in the past? The same old people ruling Cameroon time and time again. How long will Cameroonians wait for these old people? Okay, Kevin is writing from Bamenda. Good evening to all in the station. It's very embarrassing that the commission is giving 2 years while operating clean. Bamenda is going on, and if you don't have any identification paper, you are taken away. What can this commission say about this? Kum is writing from Bamenda. Tam Victor, I hear you are back. Tam, yes, many persons think that irrespective of some of the efforts made by the government, there is need for extra efforts to be made to get more and more people on the table to find a lasting or definite solution to the problem, so that effectively the reconstruction process can take off. You are not getting what I'm saying. I'm saying that some persons, the SDF, think that the government should go an extra mile to holding further talks with some of the aggrieved parties, so that a lasting solution could be gotten.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. From my findings, I have the impression that government is doing a lot of background work, and like it's often said, that the important things happened in the dark, because we don't expect important things like that to happen in broad daylight. I have the impression that government is doing all it can within its powers to communicate or to talk to those who matter. But again, I want to say that, like Fundi, the chairman of the SDF, said last month, no one should claim to be more Anglophone than the other. Yes, it's very important. All of us have equal right as Anglophones and to speak up on what we think is wrong or is right. But people should also understand to respect other Anglophones' views. It's important. And I think that from what has been happening in the past, like JV said in the studio, that government should work with the clergy and other people. But from what I see on the ground, I have the impression that government has been working with those actors to ensure that peace returns to these two regions, and of course to ensure that the program to reconstruct the two regions enter full gear. We cannot also undermine the past of the church. The church has a fundamental responsibility and influence to play on the community, and the community is made up of Christians, and these Christians either go to Catholic, Presbyterian, Baptist, and you name the rest, which means that the clergy have a role, a pivotal role to play, which is enough for government to engage with them, maybe in different aspects. It could be peace building, reconstruction, and other aspects that can strike a balance and bring normalcy to these two parts of the region of the country. I think it's very important, and we cannot also think that one Anglophone is more important than the other. We all have equal status to talk about what we think is right. People should not think that because the thing is A, B is nothing otherwise. We have the right to be tolerant. We have to be tolerant tolerant to allow our views to prevail.
Okay, we have to be tolerant to allow the views of others to prevail. We want to say thank you, Sam Victor Bamo, all the way from Yaoundé. It's not been easy. The lines were not too good today. We are very grateful you are part of the show this evening.
Thanks very much, Leo. I thank my media prime. And we hope that subsequently I will come live on the studio to talk about this particular topic. It's quite interesting, and Anglophones must understand what is meant by special status, its content, and how it will be executed. I think it's our responsibility as Anglophones to talk to our Anglophone brothers that this is what government wants to do to us. It's our duty.
Okay, I hope that next week we look for a date to discuss on that, specifically looking at them one after the other, all the points raised in that document that is talking about special status. Thank you for being part of the program. Tamai Jarvis, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Leonard. Thank you to all those who took our time to follow the program. To the viewers who said I kept calling you Leonard, you understand in journalism we don't go by titles. I understand the fact, and a special good evening to the President of the Republic, and a special good evening to those who are watching us right now.
And also to you, Professor Mark Anthony.
Thank you, Mr. Leo, and to the million viewers out there watching at us at this moment. I also want to say that I believe that Mr. Tasson and his Reconstruction Commission listened to us, and I believe he has a plan to see into it that he execute the various resolutions that were taken during their last meeting.
We only want to say we are grateful to you all who took time off to follow the program, and that you should take another rendezvous with us on Monday, 7 p.m. on my Media Prime. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.